Hello, I'm Matthew Malcolm with Pacific Nut Producer Magazine, reporting to you here today from Folsom, headquarters of the California Walnut Board and Commission. I'm here with the CEO and Executive Director, Robert Verloop, again for the California Walnut Board and Commission, to talk about how the season is going so far. Walnuts are looking pretty good so far, it sounds like. Can you tell us about it?
Well, we're coming off of one of our lightest crops, and so the year started out really strong. And with all the things that are going on internationally, when we got to about March, things slowed down a little bit, frankly, because we didn't have enough of our crop to satisfy even the big demand that's out there. So we saw a slow down a little bit, so prices softened. Right now, we're starting to finish up the season. We're going to end up with one of the lowest carry-ins that we've had for probably 10 years. And when you look at that as a percentage of the total crop, that really puts us in a great position.
Yeah, I guess just, there's more than one way to look at it, but so it's sad to see all the acreage going out and some of the decline that we've had based on some market conditions over recent years, but we're getting back into a good position. Prices have been, generally increasing over the last couple of years, right? And so looking at this year's crop, is it how would you compare size to previous years, and how the actual nut itself is sizing up so far?
Yeah, this year it's still a little bit early to come out with an official number. They'll come out September 4th from the NAS, part of the USDA organization. But anecdotally, we know that this crop is going to be larger than last year. It's not a limb buster by any means, so it's a moderate crop, which is really what you'd want to have. It gives us that price stability. We're coming off of a good price year, not the best that we've ever seen by far. But what we're seeing right now means that this upcoming year should be a good transition year. Growers that have the crop are very cautiously optimistic, we'll call it. And we're also starting to see really what the crop looks like because of the maturity of the walnuts. To your point, we got good sizing. Had a chance this morning to look at some walnuts that people had cut open. Looking on the inside, the quality looks spectacular. As you know, we've had an incredibly mild summer here in Folsom and in our producing areas. We've seen temperatures in the 80s rather than in the hundreds. And so all in all, that's great for growing condition. Our trees came out of the winter really pretty strong. We had good rain, deep moisture, and because of the moderate temperatures, the trees have been growing very aggressively. And what we're seeing, it makes us very optimistic about what's going to happen.
Do we assume, I know with some crops, because of the cooler weather, that things are going to be a little later than normal? Would we expect that for walnuts as well, potentially?
A lot of that depends on what we see over the next 6 weeks here. Honestly, if it warms up and we get into the hundreds for extended periods of time, that's going to accelerate the walnut harvest. But at this moment, it looks like it's on par, maybe a week late. But when you think about it, we sell walnuts, we harvest them once and then we sell it year round. And so the timing on that is probably not as important as it is for fruits and vegetables.
Well, we know you've had a real busy year so far. You've been traveling to some different countries. Saw a great picture of you in the UK with the delegation with Secretary Rollins. Mm-hmm. We've seen you guys doing some things in Japan. Tell us about some of the recent activities of the board and commission that should serve to benefit the whole industry.
Yeah, part of our responsibility and our budget is really based on international development and domestic marketing. And so over the last 3 years, we've seen our international number vary just a little bit, but basically 65 to 67% of our crop goes internationally. And with all the talk about tariffs and the changes in some of these trade agreements, we're very keen from the commission side to be working with our elected officials and also the regulators to make sure that we have full access to all of these different markets. You mentioned Secretary Rollins. We were honored to be invited to be part of a group in the UK with a focus on really explaining to the Secretary the efforts that we have put into expanding our sales in the UK, and then really taking a look at where the opportunities are. And she was very receptive. We talked about both the UK and the phenomenal growth we have seen there with the focus that we've had from MAP funding. But we're also had a chance to talk to her about some other markets, particularly India. And I know that that's on the forefront of a lot of discussions right now.
Right.
Where we stand today, we know that last week the EU and the United States came up with a blueprint, we'll call it, for tariffs. We think that we're in a good position, and potentially, actually, we'll see a drop in tariffs in the EU. But India still remains kind of the wild card. And as for the industry, we want access to all these markets, and we want it at the lowest possible tariff rates. It's healthy, good for you food that all these markets are looking for. And so we actually are looking for an invitation in the future to go to India with the Secretary. She knows the importance of the walnut crop and actually almonds and pistachios also in India. It's a very important market for us. We're at 100% tariff rate right now, and if that gets reduced to 30%, 20%, something in that nature, we expect that market to really start to achieve the growth potential that it has. And you got to remember, 2017, 18, we planted a lot of trees in anticipation of having full access to India, a little bit in China. So we've lost China, but we certainly think that the opportunity for growth is there in India.
Well, that's great. It's great to see you got your foot in the door. The Secretary knows about the needs of the California walnut industry, of all the different commodities that they're responsible for, as the United States, to see walnuts at the forefront there. So great job. You guys are doing awesome. We look forward to hopefully, an ideal season this year for walnut growers and some, hopefully profitable prices, right?
When we look at what's going on in the market, we see a lot of demand. The pipeline is somewhat empty right now of high quality, export quality walnuts. And so we're working with our handlers to make sure that we're delivering the best quality. But when it comes to price, we're not involved with that part of the negotiations. What we have to look at is making sure that we have demand, because when you have that pull-through demand, we can get more people to eat more walnuts at a regular basis, hopefully at higher prices. And a lot of this goes into what we're seeing in the marketplace today, the carry-in, and then what the crop size will be. And given all the things that I mentioned earlier, we're cautiously optimistic. We know we're at the whim of Mother Nature and the market to some extent, but we know where we sit today, and it's going in the right direction for sure.
Great. Well, hey, thank you so much for taking the time. Read more about these things in Pacific Nut Producer Magazine. I'm Matthew Malcolm, CaliforniaAgNet.com.